I never thought I'd be the one telling this story. For years, I tried to bury it, to pretend it wasn't real, to convince myself that what happened to my mother was just some twisted nightmare. But nightmares end when you wake up. This one didn't. My name is Michael Sayos, and in 2016, my life changed forever. It was August 20th, 2016. I remember the date because it was the last time I saw my mother, Evelyn. She was 54 years old, a woman full of warmth and discipline, the kind of mother who could scold you for being irresponsible and then cook your favorite meal an hour later. She was strict, yes, but she loved us fiercely. That morning, she seemed fine. She was humming while preparing breakfast, moving around the kitchen like she always did. Nothing felt unusual, but by evening, she was gone. My sister Juana told us that Mom had left for Singapore. She said Mom needed space, that she was overwhelmed by constant conflicts and wanted to retreat for a while. Juana insisted she was in touch with her, that Mom was sending her birthday wishes and messages online. At first, I wanted to believe it. Who wouldn't? The idea that she had simply left, that she was safe somewhere else, was easier to accept than the alternative. But something about those messages bothered me. They were short, vague, almost mechanical. Mom was never like that. She loved details. She'd tell you about the weather, the food she was eating, the people she met. These posts had none of that. No video calls, no recent photos, just text. I tried to push the doubts away. Juana seemed calm, almost too calm. She kept saying, "She's fine. She's just resting. Don't worry." But the more time passed, the more uneasy I became. Her passport was missing. There was no record of her leaving the country. And yet, her Facebook account kept posting. Imagine watching your mother vanish from your life, only to see her alive, online every week. It was surreal. By 2018, I couldn't take it anymore. 2 years had passed, and there was still no sign of her. I finally went to the police and filed a missing person report. They didn't take it seriously. They thought she had left willingly. No urgency, no investigation. Just another case on the pile. I felt helpless. My siblings were divided. Some believed Juana, others share my doubts. But without proof, what could we do? Fast forward to June 2020. 4 years since Mom disappeared. I was renovating her house, trying to fix the kitchen floor. That's when I noticed it. A smell. At first, I ignored it. Old houses have odors, right? But this wasn't normal. It was foul, heavy, the kind of stench that clings to your clothes and makes your stomach churn. The workers complained. They said something was wrong beneath the floor. I told them to dig. What they found changed everything. Under the concrete, hidden beneath layers of cement, were Mom's belongings, her ID, her passport, her bank card. My heart sank. I knew then. She wasn't in Singapore. She hadn't left us. She was here, buried under our feet. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook as I held her things. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The next day, I called the police. They came, skeptical as always. But when they dug deeper, they found it. The septic tank. The smell intensified until it was unbearable. And then the body. Decomposed, unrecognizable, but still hers. My mother, Evelyn. I collapsed. I couldn't process it. For years, I had hoped she was alive somewhere, maybe angry at us, maybe hiding, but alive. And now, here she was dead, buried in her own home. The police sent her body for examination. The results were brutal. She had been murdered. Multiple stab wounds, a fractured skull, a fatal injury to the neck. It wasn't just a killing, it was rage, hatred, violence beyond reason. Whoever did this wanted her gone, permanently. And the worst part? The suspects were already in front of me. Juana, my sister, and her boyfriend Rudy. The police interrogated them. At first, they denied everything. But under pressure, Juana broke. She confessed. She had killed our mother. Rudy had helped. I couldn't believe it. My own sister. The girl Mom had raised, protected, scolded, loved. The girl who had once cried in Mom's arms after making mistakes. And Rudy, he hated Mom. He thought she was an obstacle, always criticizing, always interfering. Together, they decided she had to go. Juana lured her down the stairs, saying she had a surprise. Rudy was waiting with a hammer. He struck her, and when she fell, they stabbed her repeatedly. Then they buried her in the septic tank, covering the crime with cement. For 4 years, they lived above her grave, pretending everything was fine. Juana even impersonated her online, keeping the illusion alive. When I heard the confession, I felt something inside me break. It wasn't just grief. It was betrayal. My sister had murdered the woman who gave us life. She had lied to us, manipulated us, made us believe Mom was still alive. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't even say her name without feeling sick. The police charged them both, Juana with murder, Rudy with complicity. They were taken into custody. But for me, justice fell hollow. Nothing could bring Mom back. Nothing could erase the image of her body in that septic tank. That was the moment I realized my life would never be the same. I had lost my mother, I had lost my sister, and I had lost the illusion that family meant safety. This is just the beginning of the story. In the next part, I'll tell you how the investigation unfolded, how the lies unraveled, and how I tried to cope with the unbearable truth. Because when your own blood betrays you, the scars never heal. I thought the nightmare had ended when the police unearthed my mother's body, but that was only the beginning. The smell of death lingered in the house long after they carried her away, clinging to the walls, seeping into my skin. I couldn't escape it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, or at least what was left of it, and I heard the sound of cement cracking open to reveal the truth I had been too afraid to face. The police told me they would investigate, but I could see it in their eyes. They already suspected who was responsible. Juana and Rudy, my sister and the man she loved. The same two people who had insisted for years that Mom was alive, who had fed us lies and kept us quiet. I wanted to believe they were innocent, but deep down, I knew. The way Juana avoided my questions, the way Rudy glared at Mom whenever she scolded Juana, the way they both seemed too comfortable living in that house while pretending Mom was somewhere far away. The interrogations began. I wasn't there in the room, but I heard enough from the officers afterward. Juana sat in silence at first, her hands trembling, her eyes darting around like a trapped animal. Rudy tried to act tough, leaning back in his chair, smirking, but the sweat on his forehead betrayed him. The questions grew sharper, the evidence piled up, and the walls closed in. Juana broke first. Her voice cracked, and then the words spilled out like poison. She admitted it. She admitted everything. She said she had killed our mother, that Rudy had helped her, that together they had planned it, carried it out, and buried her beneath the house. I couldn't breathe when I heard that. My own sister, the girl I had grown up with, the one Mom had sacrificed everything for, the one she had scolded and guided and loved despite all her mistakes. Juana had lured her down the stairs, telling her there was a surprise waiting. Mom trusted her. She always trusted her children. She walked down those steps, unaware that Rudy was waiting with a hammer in his hand. The first blow shattered her skull. She fell, bleeding, gasping, still alive. Juana fetched a knife, and together they stabbed her again and again, until her body stopped moving. The floor was soaked in blood, the air filled with her last cries. And then, as if she were nothing more than a problem to be solved, they dragged her to the septic tank, dumped her inside, and sealed her beneath layers of cement. For 4 years, they lived above her grave. For 4 years, Juana pretended to be her online, sending birthday wishes, posting updates, keeping the illusion alive. For 4 years, Rudy mixed cement whenever the smell grew too strong, patching cracks, hiding the rot beneath the surface. I couldn't stop imagining it. Every time I walked into that house, I saw them standing over her body, shoveling cement, laughing at how clever they were. Every time I scrolled through Facebook, I saw Juana typing out those fake messages, pretending to be the woman she had murdered. It was like living in a haunted house, except the ghosts weren't imaginary. They were my family. The police charged them both. Juana with murder, Rudy with complicity. They were taken into custody, locked away, but even then, I couldn't feel relief. Because the horror wasn't just in what they had done, it was in the fact that they had done it to her, to our mother, to the person who had given them life. I kept asking myself why. Why would Juana do this? Why would Rudy hate her so much? The answers were ugly. Mom had scolded Juana for being reckless, for getting pregnant at 16, for moving in with Rudy, for neglecting her responsibilities. She had tried to guide her, to discipline her, to make her better. But Juana didn't see love in those words. She saw control, criticism, suffocation. And Rudy, already resentful, already angry, fed that hatred until it consumed them both. They said Mom was toxic, that she was always criticizing, always interfering. They said they couldn't take it anymore. So they killed her. I couldn't accept it. I still can't. Because I know the truth. Mom wasn't toxic. She was strict, yes, but she was loving. She wanted the best for us. She wanted Juana to succeed, to raise her child properly, to build a future. She wanted Rudy to treat her daughter with respect. She wanted us to be better than we were. And for that, they murdered her. The investigation dragged on. Reporters came, neighbors whispered, the story spread. Everyone wanted to know how a daughter could kill her own mother, how a family could hide such a crime for so long. I didn't have answers. All I had were nightmares. I started to see things. Shadows in the house, whispers in the dark. Sometimes I thought I heard Mom's voice calling my name, faint, distant, like it was trapped beneath the floor. Sometimes I smelled the rot again, even after the police had cleaned the septic tank. It was as if the house itself refused to let me forget. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her walking down the stairs, smiling, unaware of the hammer waiting for her. I saw Rudy's face twisted in rage, Juana's hands clutching the knife, the blood pooling on the floor. I woke up drenched in sweat, gasping, convinced I could still hear her screams. The police told me the case would take time. Trials, hearings, procedures. But I didn't care about the legal process. I cared about the fact that my sister had betrayed us, that she had murdered the woman who raised us, that she had lied to me for years while I searched for answers. I confronted her once in the detention center. I wanted to see her face, to hear her voice, to understand why. She looked at me with hollow eyes, eyes that used to sparkle when we were kids but now seemed dead. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just stared at me, silent, as if I were the stranger, as if I were the one who had done something wrong. I asked her why. She didn't answer. I asked her if she regretted it. She didn't answer. I asked her if she even loved Mom. She turned away. That silence was worse than any confession. It told me everything I needed to know. She didn't care. She didn't feel remorse. She had killed Mom, and she had accepted it. I left the detention center shaking, my stomach twisted, my mind racing. I wanted to scream, to tear the walls down, to make her feel the pain she had caused. But I couldn't. I was powerless. The trial hasn't ended yet. The verdict hasn't been announced. But for me, the sentence is already clear. Juana and Rudy are guilty. Guilty of murder, guilty of betrayal, guilty of destroying our family. And yet, even now, I can't escape the fear. Because if my own sister could kill my mother, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for the rest of us? How do you live knowing that the person you grew up with, the person you trusted, is capable of such horror? I walked through life haunted, not just by Mom's death, but by the realization that evil doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people closest to you. Sometimes it comes from your own blood. And that's the scariest part of all. I thought the trial would bring closure, but it didn't. If anything, it opened wounds I didn't know I had. Sitting in that courtroom, watching Juana and Rudy in their prison uniforms, I felt like I was staring at strangers. They weren't family anymore. They were monsters wearing familiar faces. The prosecutors laid out the evidence, the autopsy reports, the photographs of the septic tank, the hammer, the knife. I couldn't look at the pictures for long. Every time I did, I felt my stomach twist, my chest tighten, my vision blur. That was my mother. That was her blood. That was her grave. Juana sat there, expressionless. Rudy smirked, as if none of it mattered. I wanted to stand up and scream, to tell the judge that these two didn't deserve mercy, that they had stolen not just a life, but the soul of our family. But I stayed silent. My voice was trapped, just like Mom had been trapped beneath the cement. The nights were the worst. I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing sounds in the house, footsteps, whispers, the faint echo of a hammer striking. Sometimes I thought I saw her shadow moving across the kitchen floor, as if she were still there, cooking breakfast, humming softly. Other times, I smelled the rot again, that unbearable stench that had led me to her grave. It was as if the house itself refused to let me forget. I tried to move out, but I couldn't. Something kept pulling me back. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the need to stay close to her, even if all that was left was a memory, soaked in blood. Friends told me to let go, to start over, to leave the past behind. But how do you leave behind a mother buried under your own floor? How do you erase the image of your sister holding a knife, your brother-in-law swinging a hammer, your family collapsing into horror? I started recording myself at night, hoping to catch the sounds I kept hearing. The tapes were mostly silent, but sometimes, faintly, there was something. A creak, a whisper, a sigh. I played them over and over, convinced it was her, convinced she was still trying to speak to me. The fear grew. I couldn't walk down the stairs without imagining her last steps. I couldn't open the kitchen door without seeing the blood. I couldn't look at Juana's old room without feeling rage. The trial dragged on. Reporters kept calling. Neighbors kept whispering. Strangers kept asking questions. Everyone wanted to know how a daughter could kill her mother, how a family could hide such a crime for so long. I didn't have answers. All I had were nightmares. Sometimes I thought about confronting Rudy. I wanted to ask him why he hated her so much, why he thought killing her was the solution. But then I realized it didn't matter. Hatred doesn't need reasons. It just needs a spark. And once it burns, it consumes everything. Juana's silence haunted me more than Rudy's smirk. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't explain. She just sat there, hollow, empty, as if the act of killing had drained her of humanity. I kept wondering if she had ever loved Mom at all, or if that love had died long before the murder. The verdict hasn't been announced yet. The process drags on, slow, bureaucratic, endless. But for me, the sentence is already clear. They're guilty. Guilty of murder, guilty of betrayal, guilty of destroying everything we had. And yet, even now, I can't escape the fear. Because if my own sister could kill my mother, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for the rest of us? How do you live knowing that the person you grew up with, the person you trusted, is capable of such horror? I walked through life haunted, not just by Mom's death, but by the realization that evil doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes, it comes from the people closest to you. Sometimes, it comes from your own blood. I see her in my dreams. Sometimes she's smiling, sometimes she's crying, sometimes she's screaming. I wake up drenched in sweat, gasping, convinced I can still hear her voice. I tell myself it's just trauma, just grief, just my mind playing tricks. But deep down, I wonder if she's still here, if her spirit is trapped in the house, if she's waiting for justice that may never come. I don't know if I'll ever heal. I don't know if I'll ever forgive. I don't know if I'll ever sleep without fear again. All I know is this. My mother deserved better. She deserved love, respect, peace. She gave everything to us, and in return, she was betrayed, murdered, buried beneath cement. And I will carry that truth with me forever. Because some nightmares don't end when you wake up. Some nightmares become your life. Subscribe for more.